Bonjour tout le monde! Today we're going to talk about the passé composé with être. So we have already learned that the passé composé is a verb tense in the past, which is made up of two parts. The auxiliaire, which we've already learned avoir, and the participe passé, which is that part where you take the infinitive of the verb, drop its ending, the er, ir, or re, and then add the appropriate new ending. Now, we are talking about a separate set of verbs that follow those same conjugation rules in that they have an auxiliaire and a participe passé, but instead of avoir as our auxiliaire, we're actually using être as our auxiliaire. And these are called VANDERTRAMP verbs. VANDERTRAMP is really just an acronym for remembering which verbs are going to use être in the passé composé instead of avoir. And also, we will use les verbes réfléchis, which will use être as the auxiliaire. For example, Nathan est tombé de son vélo, or tu t'es lavé le visage. You'll notice for both of these, our passé composé is right here. Our auxiliaire, though, is être. So, est tombé is the passé composé of the verb tomber, because you have your auxiliaire, which is être, and your participe passé of tomber, because tomber is an ER verb. We drop the ER and add an E accent aigu. So this is an example of a VANDERTRAMP verb. The next is tu t'es lavé le visage. That one is an example of a reflexive verb that also uses the être as the auxiliaire. Yeah. Here's our list of our VANDERTRAMP verbs. You'll see that the acronym is actually Dr. Mrs. VANDERTRAMP. And you'll see for all of these, they will use être as the auxiliaire. They're going to have a participe passé that will follow the rule for the participe passé. But what they do is a little bit special because you can see they use être and then they use the participe passé, and that participe passé actually makes agreement with the subject of the verb, so whoever is doing the verb. For example, if I want to say I became a teacher, I would say je suis, because that is my conjugation of être in the present for je. Devenu, because devenu is my past participle. And for me, because I identify female, I need to add an E at the end of my past participle. Let's see some more examples. Okay. With our réfléchi, these are just the verbs that start with se. Here are some examples of using the être as the auxiliaire. Elle s'est lavé le visage. If you notice, laver, the participe passé here, has an extra E at the end because elle is our subject. Elle s'est lavé le visage. Nous nous sommes endormis. You see that endormi, the past participle, the participe passé, has an S at the end because nous is our subject, and that's plural. Je me suis levé à 8 heures. You can tell that the je here is feminine because lever, its participe passé, has an extra E at the end. So really, the biggest difference with our verbs that use avoir and our verbs that use être is that the verbs that use être as a past participle must make agreement with the gender and the number of the subject. Really just look at the past participle as an adjective because many of them are actually adjectives. And you have to make agreement. So elle is our subject. We use être as our past participle because our verb is se laver, which is a reflexive verb. You see, I just conjugate that reflexive verb normally like I'd conjugate a reflexive verb with my reflexive pronoun in front of my whole verb conjugation. We use être as our auxiliaire and laver as our participe passé because it has an E accent aigu. And then you add an extra E simply because elle is the subject. So now you're going to try. This is the à bouffer. Do you understand what's going on? Take the verb here, conjugate it in the passé composé to the subject here. All of these verbs here are examples of verbs that use être as the auxiliaire. So for all of these, your auxiliaire is going to be être. Find your past participle by dropping your ending and adding the new ending. Make sure you check if it's irregular. You can see that on this page right here. And then make sure you make agreement with the subject. So Marie is feminine. You're going to need to make sure at the end of your participe passé, you add an E because she is feminine. À bientôt!